Okay, so this chapter, man, this was a good one. This is hype. Okay, so I'm gonna just start this off by just going in order for what happened before I get to the end of the hype when Arthur actually is about to have a meeting with Cousins. Okay, so just start from the beginning. Arthur, he is chilling with Jasmine. He's leaving everything to Professor Glory and the Helstias to take care of Zyrus, right? So trusting them to take care of all those things. And, you know, he just kind of skedaddles with Jasmine and they're going to Edison. And it's not a surprise to find out that Lyra is there, you know, the retainer, and she decides to just surrender. That wasn't really that much of a surprise. I can tell you that was surprising was when Arthur actually gets there and there's this pile of bodies. And I'm just like, oh my God, they killed some more, you know, Decathans, but they didn't. It was Alacrians that they killed. And so she said that they didn't, this is what happens when you don't follow orders. So I'm guessing because she surrendered and everything, they didn't want to go along with the surrender. They still wanted to, you know, serve Agrona and, you know, fight. And she wasn't having it and had him killed, which was surprising, you know, because even Arthur, he was like, oh, okay, he didn't want to look at the faces to see who might be there, but he realized that they were all Alacrians. So that was surprising to find out that she just murdered him that was there. So another thing to point out is, you know, we know that Arthur has been, you know, really merciful when it comes to dealing with the Alacrians and everything that they've done, right? He's been letting them live, having them go to the Beast Glades and, you know, to you know, the, not Elenwar, but, you know, the remnants of Elenwar. And so the fact that Regis said that, you know, you're becoming predictable is also something to worry about too, is because, and it kind of is going to lead to my question about with Lyra, whether or not she's actually trustworthy or not, or whether we can believe she's not going to cause any problems. But, you know, just the fact that people can say they surrender and they could be secretly doing some other things and causing havoc or whatever. So it's just kind of something to worry about. So that kind of piqued my interest when Regis had talked about that. And also just how Lyra was acting the entire time, you know, like she wasn't acting like somebody who surrendered and was gonna be a prisoner. Like, she acted like she had everything under control. She knew what she wanted to do. It was planned, it was calculated. I mean, she obviously planned this, right? And she wasn't acting like somebody who was like giving up, defeated, I surrender. And so watch out. That's all I gotta say, man. Watch out. Now, Arthur's trying to figure out who should he have be in charge of Edison. Now, we know that the Twin Horns, they're in charge of Black Ben. We know that the Helstias and, you know, Professor Glory, they're in charge of Zyrus. So he decides to bring Kathleen and Curtis Glader to the scene. Now, I don't remember the part where they found out who Lyra was and how she looked, you know, the ones that killed their parents. So like when Curtis gets there, he's immediately, he recognizes who she is and just like, you know, angry and, you know, got the fire blazing and whatever, and about to, you know, hit her and stuff. And I'm just trying to remember, maybe you guys can tell me because I don't remember. When did they see Lyra? Like, I understand them knowing that Lyra was the one that, you know, killed their parents. We know that Tessia saw Lyra was the one that was speaking and, you know, had the bodies being shown and, you know, all that type of stuff. So we know that Tessia was there, but how do they recognize Lyra? I don't know. Just one little thing I wanted to mention. So he brings Curtis and Kathleen there, and that's the one he thinks wants to be in charge. But he also says that they are going to be working together with Lyra, which I'm just like, that's gonna be an issue, you know? But it just goes to show again, man. Catelyn is just, she is wise beyond her years. Now she's around like 17 during the novel, right? And Curtis is around like 22. And so just the fact that she has such control of her emotions, unlike Curtis, right? And just hearing her say like, you're still a monster regardless of whether you were told to do this or not. And then like I think she just smacks her in the face. I'm just like, man, and like no emotion, just like matter of factly, just like, yeah, that you're a monster. That's just what you are, So Catelyn's just, man, the wisdom, the stoicism. She's just kind of just, man, I don't know. 17 though, man, it's crazy. Now, here's something that's really interesting that we learned, right? The Elacrians and the Dicathians, right? She says that, they've been there for over a year. Agrona says that we don't ever want to mix blood with the Dicathians. We don't want to muddy up the waters or anything, or muddy up the blood, right? And she says that there are some families there. So love is a powerful, strange thing, and so they have people there who apparently got families with the Dicathians, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, but I can see it happening from people who decided to surrender and was like, okay, I'm going to serve Agrona, and I'm going to go along and follow, the Elacrians. And so I think that the people who did that, it makes sense for them to, eventually fall in love with somebody and have families and whatnot. So that makes sense. But if you just been conquered and enslaved and, whatever, right? All your shit taken away from you, for you to look at the people, which we clearly see that the Dicathians who hasn't had any sort of experience with the Elacrians as far as like them not being in a sort of like in a hostage or like a servant, like in a less than position. You understand what I'm saying? Like they all think that the Elacrians are just horrible, and Arthur's the one that knows that they're kind of just like everybody else. They're just normal people. It's just Agrona that's the one that's kind of been in charge of all this. Now, Curtis brings up a good point, which is saying that we should imprison the Elacrians, right, for like 30 days or more. And so I didn't understand what that meant at first, but after rereading it again, it makes sense to me now. So you imprison the Elacrians because you want to make sure that these quote-unquote families that he's suspect of is actually consensual, mutual, like relationships. They're not like intimidated, forced, and controlled relationships that the Elacrians decided to have, or maybe they're using that as some sort of cover for them to like stay there, right? So you imprison them to get them separate from one another and get them to be able to think clearly and be able to truly say how they feel and what's going on, whether they really have these relationships or not. I'm pretty sure maybe some of them is probably going to be, false relationships and not really genuine ones, but you're probably going to find out that some of them are actually genuine. And so I think that that's a good idea of just, keeping them separated so that way, you can really know whether or not these relationships are real or not. So I thought that was a good point. Now, here's what's so crazy to me, and this is the whole kind of conversation I want to have about the meeting with Kessis, right? Arthur is smiling when he's able to sense the manna, and he says that he, because Lyra says that, what are you going to do next? And he's like, I'm expecting company, and I'm just like, so he's expecting to have a meeting with Kessis. I thought that he meant, oh, he's expecting Aldir and Ren to show up. Like maybe he used the Creeper Stone, whatever it's called, right, to spy on them, and he knows what's going on. He knows that they're coming towards him. So I thought that maybe he knows that, But no, it was actually, he knew that Kestis was gonna want to have a meeting, and once he sensed the mana, he was like, oh yeah, they're here, time for me to go. I'm really intrigued to see how Arthur is going to handle this. Like, what is he actually going to do? So he leaves Regis behind with Jasmine as a safety net, or like a backup plan for if Lyra actually decides to, you know, do some shit, because we know that Curtis and Kathleen can't take on Lyra. Like, there's just no way, you know. Now, whether she's the strongest retainer or not, we don't know. We know that Cadell was the strongest Scythe. They made that known. Like, he was the one that was meant to take care of any sort of problems. He was Agrona's right-hand man. Any other problems happening, he wanted to take care of it. So we knew that he was the strongest. But we don't know whether or not she's the, you know, the strongest retainer. But we know that she's really powerful based off of, you know, what happened with you know, the Lances and all that happened. But so he leaves Regis behind, which is smart. Now he's going to Ephiodus to meet with Kestis. Now, another thing that had caught my attention was that they never tested to see whether or not Regis can actually be that far away from Arthur. You know, we don't really know how far Ephiodus is, but we know that it's like in a separate, maybe dimension or area or whatever. We don't really know exactly how that works, but yeah. So I'm guessing there's not gonna be a problem with, you know, their length as far as like how far they are from each other. But yeah, going back to Arthur, right? How is he going to handle this? How is he going to handle this, man? Because what do we know? We know that Kestis is the one that told Aldir to destroy Eleanor. So Arthur's not happy about that. Kestis is also the one that commanded Tasi to slaughter everybody. Slaughter his mom, his sister, Virion, everybody, right? And if he wouldn't have got there, they would have all been dead. And so he also knows about the artifacts, right? The whole setup with the artifacts. So, I mean, Arthur gets emotional. I don't know. He's intriguing because he can get emotional sometimes, but he can also be very emotionless, right? So I think that he's kind of prepared for this meeting. He kind of knows how he's going to handle it, and I'm just really intrigued to see how he's going to handle it. What is he going to do? Is he going to do some form of attack? How will he get back? Will they let him get back with like the portal, or maybe he's going to, you know, make his own portal to go back, or maybe go back to the relic tombs or something like that. Are they going to make an agreement? Are they going to work together again? Like, I want to know what the fuck is going to happen. And he better not change the point of view and go back to some other shit that's going on in Lacria. Like, it better be either Kes's point of view or Arthur's point of view. I'll be pissed, man. I'm gonna be pissed if he changes and goes back to somebody like, I need to know exactly how Arthur's gonna handle this, because this is big. This is huge. Like, this could change the course of the entire war. Predictions? Okay. Predictions. I think that Arthur's going to set up some kind of agreement with Kestis. I don't know what, but it's going to be some kind of agreement. Because if things don't go right, I don't think Kestis is going to just let Arthur walk out of there alive. You know what I'm saying? So it's either going to be an agreement that Arthur's going to make, or shit's going to just go haywire and hit the fan, and Arthur's gonna have to battle his way out of there. But it don't make sense, because why would Arthur come into that situation knowing you at a disadvantage? You got multiple Asuras that's there. If there's a bunch of them, they're gonna kill you, right? You're not gonna be able to get out of there if you got a dozen different Asuras coming after you, right? So he has a plan. I just want to know, what is that plan, you know? But yeah, so this chapter was hype, mostly because of the end. The end of the chapter made it super hype. And, you know, you guys let me know. All right, let me know what you think, okay? What do you think is going to happen during the meeting with Arthur and Kessis. Like, what do you think is gonna happen? Is it gonna be a fight? Is it gonna be an agreement? I don't know. Like, I have no idea what's gonna happen. Also, Lyra, do you think that things are gonna be okay when Arthur actually comes back? Is Lyra gonna make some move and Regis gonna have to intervene and fight, right? Or like what do you think about that? Yeah, so yeah, that's it, man. Peace.